Hi there, welcome and thank you for joining us for the International Student Connect Legal Rights While Employed in Canada presentation. This is part two of a two-part series. We've completed part one where we talked a lot about, the student permit and how it relates to your work permit, how to get a social insurance number. We talked a little bit about internship as well, and the Employment Standards Act. Now we're going to get into a little bit more of the work structure with this part two. We'll talk about work structure, compensation, overtime, lieu time, vacation, and statutory holidays, and we'll get into a little bit of the breaks and, the coffee breaks. For those of you who smoke breaks. No, I don't think I cover smoke breaks, but yes. So we'll just talk a little bit about that. If you haven't yet seen part one, please do source part one and take a look at it. Now, we'll just complete looking at the minimum wages and some of the work structure. Now, when we talk about the work week and the way that things are structured, the work week is actually 7 consecutive days, so a reoccurring period of 7 consecutive days. These days do not necessarily have to be from Monday to Sunday. The work week could begin during the week, so it could begin on a Wednesday as well. Again, when you look at your work, when you look at the structure of work, it may not necessarily be that your work week starts on a Monday. So do visit www.labor.gov.on.ca. Let's look at the minimum wages. The minimum wage in Ontario, they have different categories, and it's just recently been changed. It's the amount that the employer is able to pay you legally, whether you're full-time or part-time. There's more than one minimum wage rate here in Ontario. There's a rate for students, and there's a general rate as well. Now, if you work less than 28 hours weekly, you will receive the student minimum wages. If you work more than 28 hours weekly, then you are to receive the general minimum wages. Most employers will pay you the student minimum wage, so you need to make sure that you understand the difference between the general and the student minimum wages, okay? Minimum wage entitlements looks kind of like this. Currently, this is what it looks like. The general minimum wage rate that applies to most employees is $11.60 per hour. For a student who's working less than 28 hours a week or up to 28 hours a week, it's $10.90 per hour. If you work in, let's say, for example, the LCBO, then you'd be looking at $10.10 per hour. And then the rate changes for various different jobs. So anyone who's in hunting and fishing, there's a different rate. That information, please do look at the labor market for qualifications on that. Students under the age of 18 who are employed as homeowners should be paid the homeowner's minimum wage, and that's $12.80 per hour. So if you're someone who's working as a student and you're working in a home to help someone, for example, someone who is studying to be a personal support worker, you are entitled to $12.80 an hour. Okay? There are some students that are not covered under the Employment Standards Act that we talked about in the first presentation. Those students are students who are studying architecture, law, professional engineering, medicine, and so on. So again, you want to make sure that you are one of those students who actually qualify under the Employment Standards Act. So again, students that are studying any of these, under any of these professions, the minimum wages do not apply to them. Now, come January 1st, the minimum wage is going to increase. It will no longer be $11.60 anymore. The general minimum wages will increase to $14 per hour January 1st, 2018, and $15 per hour January 1st, 2019. And the rates also changes for students on January 1st, 2018 to $13.15, and from $14 to $14.10 January 2019. So again, this is something that you should definitely take a look at. For those who are studying medicine, optometry, and any of these professions that are listed here, unfortunately, the ESA does not cover your minimum wages. Now, we'll look at overtime, lieu time, vacation, and statutory holidays. Individuals who work 44 hours per week becomes entitled to overtime pay under the ESA Act. So under the Employment Standards Act, if you are working longer hours than 44 hours per week, then you are entitled to overtime pay. However, here's the catch. Employers are not automatically entitled to pay you overtime when you work more than the regular hours. So if you know that you're working longer hours than the maximum 44 hours that entitles you under the Employment Standards Act, you must get that in writing from your employer. The employer must give that to you. The employer can take 1.5 hours of pay. So say, for example, you've worked the overtime. What the employer can do is they can give you time off. So you can take 1.5 hours of paid time off for each hour of overtime that you have worked. There's more information on this at the labor market website, so please do check that out. Now, for lieu time, an employee is entitled, if you and your employer has agreed in writing that you will receive paid time off from work instead of overtime. And that is considered lieu time or banked time in the place of overtime. That is legal under the Employment Standards Act. Banked overtime hours or lieu time can be given, again, 1.5 hours of paid time off work for each 1 hour of overtime that you work. Now, paid time off must be taken within 3 months of the week in which the overtime was earned. If the employer and the employee has agreed in writing, it can be taken within 12 months. So again, under the ESA, the lieu time has a designated time period within which it must be taken. So that is 3 months under ESA. If you've agreed with your employer that it can be longer, that you can bank it and keep it for up to 12 months, then that is when you would be entitled to that. Employees are entitled to 2 weeks of vacation time after any 12-month period. So that's your vacation entitlement. Now, vacation pay must be at least 4% of your gross wage. So again, please do go to www.labor.gov.on.ca to gather additional information on how your vacation pay should work. Speak to your employer about it as well. And vacation pay must be at least 4% again of your gross wages, not including vacation pay earned over the course of the 12-month period. This is broken down very simply for you at the government's website. For more information, please do check that out. Statutory holidays are also a part of the ESA. Now, they choose stat holidays for that we are entitled to. New Year's Day is a statutory holiday. Canada Day is a statutory holiday. Family Day, Good Friday, Thanksgiving, Queen Victoria Day, Christmas Day, and Boxing Day. So do not forget that. Employers may give you Easter Monday and Easter Sunday off, or Remembrance Day, which is in the first day of August is the holiday, but they're not legally entitled to do so. So please do not get angry with your employer if they say that you're not entitled to Easter Monday or Easter Monday or the Remembrance Day. Now, to qualify for public holidays, you must work your last scheduled shift before the holiday and your first scheduled shift after the public holiday. So let me explain that because people have gotten really confused with that. Let's say that Christmas was to fall on Tuesday. Monday is let's say Monday is a work day. No, I won't use Christmas. Let me use Family Day, for example. Family Day is a good one. Okay, so Family Day is falling on Tuesday. Monday is a work day for you. It's the day that you've been scheduled to work. But something happens and you caught a cold and you're now not feeling well. So you've decided that I'm not going to go to work on Monday. And Tuesday's the holiday, so I'll get Monday and Tuesday off. So in essence, I'm going to get, if you're off on the weekends, you're getting Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday off. The day that you're supposed to go back to work is Wednesday, but you're still not feeling well, and Wednesday is the day that you're scheduled to go back to work. If you do not go to work those 2 days, so Monday and Wednesday, then you will not be paid for Tuesday. The employer is not cheating you. This is legally the way that it works. So you have to work the day when you are scheduled prior to that holiday. Let's say that your last scheduled day was 1 week before the holiday comes around, or 5 days before the holiday rolls around. And on day 5, you didn't go to work. You will not get paid for the holiday. So please keep that in mind. The first and last day before and after the holiday does not have to be the day immediately is what I'm saying. So it doesn't have to be Monday, you're off on Monday. If you were supposed to work on Friday, the Friday before the holiday, and you didn't come to work that Friday, and that was your scheduled day, then you will still not be paid for that holiday. Hopefully that makes some sense to you. Lunch and coffee breaks. You should not work longer than 5 hours without being given a half an hour break for eating. So keep that in mind. After 5 consecutive hours of work, you are entitled to a 30-minute break. 30-minute break times may be split into 2, so you can take 15 minutes if that's agreed upon with your employer. You can take one 15-minute break here and another 15-minute break there. Meal breaks are by law unpaid, so if you have an employer who's actually paying you for your break time, that's a really good employer. They can pay you for your meal breaks if they choose to do that. The employer does not have to give you a coffee break or a smoke break. The only break they're entitled to give you, they're legally entitled to give you, is for you to eat. Okay? So please, again, keep that in mind. There are a few terms used to describe when your services are no longer required. They can say that they're letting you go, you're being dismissed, you're being fired, you're permanently laid off. All of these are legal words to use for termination. So if you've been told that they're going to let you go, it means that you're being terminated. Your service is no longer required by the employer. And under the ESA, under the Employment Standards Act, a person's employment is terminated if the employer dismisses or stops employing the employee, including where the employer is no longer employed due to bankruptcy, insolvency, or any other financial issues the employer may be experiencing. There is constructive dismissal, where an employee and the employer agrees that the employee is going to resign within a reasonable time. The employer can also lay you off within a reasonable time period, and that could be considered a temporary layoff in that case. So please do familiarize yourselves with this kind of information. It is really important for you to know these things. Written notice may be required. So in some cases, when an employer ends employment of an employee who has been consistently employed for 3 months, the employer must provide the employee with written notice to let them know that you are going to be terminated, and here are the reasons for your termination. Termination pay may also be required. So when you start the job, please do get the policies and procedures guidelines that the employer has, read it very thoroughly, and ensure that you know what your rights are should you be terminated. Both written notice and termination pay may be required in some cases. Again, go to the government's website and find out when both is required. And the ESA does not require the employer to provide written termination notice under some circumstances. So again, please do see the chapter on reprisals at www.labor.gov.on.ca. We've come to the end of part 2. You can visit our website at www.internationalstudentsconnect.org, and on our website you'll find our fact sheets, and some additional information is there for you. If your institution is one of the organizations that is a part of the International Student Connect project, you may be able to access our one-on-one sessions as well as group information sessions. We have a transition plan on our website that is a tool that is there to help you track your schedules and deadlines, especially if you are one of those individuals who are planning to transition from an international student to a permanent resident. For example, the Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program is one of those programs that a lot of international students will access in order to become a permanent resident. And there are a few steps that you're required to take in order for you to qualify for this program. So this transition plan will help you to identify those steps and also prepare for them. So please do visit our website and start your transition plan today. The International Student Connect project is funded by the Ministry of Citizenship and Immigration Canada, and it's a project that was designed to address concerns that was raised by international students and their settlement needs. So we've tried to provide some support using this project. The project is actually coordinated by Costi Immigrant Services, a multicultural-based community agency that provides settlement services at 17 locations throughout the Greater Toronto Area. If you do need settlement services, please do visit Costi at www.costi.org to find some of our locations, perhaps the ones that are closest to you, and you can contact us at International Student Connect at our website, or you can go to call us at 1-844-871-4567, or you may email us at iac@costi.org. Thank you once again for viewing our presentation. We hope to see you at some of our live webinars where you can get answers to some of the questions that you have immediately. Thank you once again, and we hope that this was quite informative for you.